Y'all already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. So you want to steal stuff, huh? You want to break in people's houses, huh? It might give you 6 months. They might give you a year. What if they was to give you 56 years? Let's relive it. Now, early on in this YouTube stuff, man, I talked about a couple of my dudes, man, that were doing a lot of time that I didn't feel should be doing the sentence they were doing. Today, we're going to do Michael Cutrell's story. Michael Cutrell's a good friend of mine. Known him a long time. So let's get into it. I met Michael Cutrell 2003. I was living in Richmond off this place called Monument Avenue in the Fan. Had a nice apartment, 3rd floor, the balcony. And out there, it's like VCU area, college area. A lot of keg parties, a lot of college students. I just lucked up on the apartment. You know what I mean? So I go to this keg party one night. Everybody's there drinking. And there's kegs everywhere. Now, mind you, at the time, I was a wild dude, man. So I'm trashed. I get it in my head that, hey, I'm going to jack a couple of these heavy-ass kegs, throw them in the back of the car when I leave and pull off. I go to take one out to the fire escape, and there's this white dude out there with a keg doing the same thing I'm doing. At first, I thought I was caught. I'm like, oh, shit, bro, you got me. And he's like, help me with this joint, man. I helped him take the keg down the fire escape. He helped me take mine down. We loaded them in the back of the cars. Dapped up. I said, what's your name, man? He was like, Michael Cutrell. I said, word. His girl comes out the party. We kicked it that night. Smoked a bunch of weed. Drank a ton of ass load of beer. Liquor. Just got all messed up. Went back to my apartment. Called a bunch of people over and, just continued the party at my house. I wouldn't see Michael again after that for a long time. But in those, that day and the day after, man, I told him, I said, look, man, get at me sometime. We'll get up, we'll kick it. He was like, all right, who's into the same type of shit? Both street dudes. I hear he gets locked up. Wasn't sure why. I find out later on that he had, a substance abuse problem, a drug problem, which a lot of dudes that end up in prison do. And just like always, instead of looking towards rehabilitation or doing something to deal with the underlying problem, they just take you and they just throw you in prison. So he gets sent to prison. Wouldn't be long after that, I wild out, I get sent to prison. Now, I've told y'all Greensville Correctional Center is a big place. Big place. I had been there going on 4 years when I bumped into Michael Cutrell for the first time. He had been there over 4 years, had been on the other side of the compound in a place called S1. It's S1, S2, S3. It's like 3 prisons in one. And if you're in S1, you and the people over on the other side of S3, y'all won't see each other unless maybe you bumping each other at medical, like the main infirmary, at dental, something like that. He gets shipped over to my side of the yard because he's trying to get in school. The classes that are offered for what he wants to take are on my side of the compound. I don't even notice the dude. You know what I mean? For real, my memory wasn't that good at the time. He remembers me. He comes up, what's up, Jay? How you been, man? I'm like, what's up? We dap up. After a couple seconds, I realize who he is. Everybody in prison called him White Chocolate. So, boom, like this, lifting weights every day, walking the track, still smoking in prison. So we're smoking, copping weed, smoking, chilling in the cell, listening to music, doing what you do when you're locked up, man. We trade CDs back and forwards. If we ain't got no outside rec, you might see us walking inside the pod together, doing push-ups, doing pull-ups under the stairs, doing dips off the phones. He gets to the point he's at the end of his bid, and he wants me to tattoo, never forget, across the top of his chest, with all these Roman numerals. And the Roman numerals stood for the time he had suspended that was over his head. So I was like, you sure you want to do this, man? Tattoos like this sometimes can be the curse. And he was like, nah, Jay, I'm not never coming back in here. I said, that's what I like to hear, man. That's good, because I'm definitely not coming back. I said, we can get up when I get out. But if you're on that dumb shit, I'm telling you now, I'm not rocking with you. I'm just not. I'm trying to live a good life. I done got it in my mind. I'm going to get out, start a construction company. I want to tell my story, be an inner city youth counselor. I want to go speak to people and try to keep people from doing what I'm doing. So if you're not on the same page as me, like, don't expect us to kick it. Don't get butt hurt, when I don't say what's up. He goes home. I don't hear no more about him. I hear he's getting in little stuff here and there, but it's all minor. Nothing too serious. Nothing that's going to send him to prison. Then I get out, and I hear that about a year before I got out, he had got locked up. So my brother ends up locked up. Brother ends up on the same compound with him. This was, years back. And I got a chance to talk to Michael, man, it was probably about 10 months ago. And I said, what's up, man? What's good with you? He, it is what it is, man. I said, is it true? You know what I mean, what they're saying? And he was like, yeah. So let me tell y'all Michael's story, man. Michael said, Jay, I've always, dibbled and dabbled with the dope, man. He said, I got an addiction. It's just what it is. I know I shouldn't do it, but I choose to. And in doing it, you got to support that habit. He said, me and the girl are riding around one night in the car, looking for houses to hit. And he said, it's still daytime. It's not yet night. It's getting dark. He said, and I passed this one house and I noticed there ain't no cars there. This is everything he told me. He said, so I tell her, look, park out front, let me out. And, if anybody pulls up, hit the horn. He said he goes to the front door and the deadbolt's not locked. So he jimmies the lock. Gets the lock, the regular doorknob lock open, goes up in the house. Steals a couple laptops, other little things. Well, while he's in the house, the girl is in the car and isn't paying attention. And dude, comes home. Walks up, sees his front doors open, realizes somebody's in the house. Well, he's got one of those doorknobs that can only be locked by key on both sides. There is no thing you turn on the actual deadbolt. So while Mike's in the house, the dude comes up, pulls the door closed, puts the key in it, locks it. So now this dude is locked inside the house. The back door is deadbolted. The front door wasn't at the time, but the dude is now deadbolted him. Michael's coming down the hallway. He sees the dude that lives at the house. The dude sees him. Michael runs up, panics, oh, and tries to open the door. And the dude has now locked the door. I asked him, Michael, why didn't you go out the window? He's like, you couldn't go out the windows. The way the bushes were set up and everything, there was no, going out the window. So he said, he's telling dude, open the door, man, let me out. The dude is on the phone with the police, which, he's a citizen. That's what he's supposed to do. He's going to call the police. Michael runs back in the kitchen, opens a drawer and finds a butter knife now. A butter knife. Comes back to the door lock, puts it in there, is trying to jimmy the lock. And the dude's telling him stop. Michael's like, open the door. Pointing the butter knife at him, telling him, open this doorknob, man. He's still jimmying it. Eventually, he drops the damn knife, finds a window he can get out of, jumps out the window with the laptops, takes off running. The girl's done pulled off. She circles back, picks him up. They end up ditching the laptops. The cops end up pulling them, arresting him, going back to where the laptops were ditched, picking them up. Off to jail he goes for breaking into this house. He said he didn't think that, this was going to carry a whole lot of time. He just broke in the house and stole 2 laptops. Gets time to go to court, time to go to trial. He's talking to his lawyer, and his lawyer's like, look, you're facing a lot of time. He's like, facing a lot of time? All I did was steal 2 laptops. He's like, yeah, but it was an armed burglary. What do you mean it was an armed burglary? The man is saying that you had a knife and you were pointing a knife at him, that it's an armed burglary. Armed statutory burglary. He's like, man, that's bullshit. I was using that knife to try to get out the house. They're not trying to hear it. Michael Cutrell will go on to go to trial, get sentenced, and ultimately received 56 years at the age of 33 for breaking into a house. 56 years. That will set him at 89 years old when he gets out. Now, before you get into the whole, he shouldn't have been doing this, he shouldn't have been doing that, He knew what he was getting himself into. I agree to an extent. But at the same time, when you're caught up in your madness, when you're caught up in that life, all you see is that moment. You think, worst case scenario, I get caught, I might get 3 years, I might get 5 years. But when you're living that life, that's not what's going through your head. You never would imagine in your wildest dreams that at 33 years old, breaking into a house would pretty much lead to a life sentence. Because when you're sentenced to that amount of time at that age, that's what it is. I'm going to post his release date so y'all can see that. He gets out 2048 with his good time. Here in Virginia, you have to do 85% of your time. So, with his good time and everything going on, if he stays out of trouble all the way up until that date, that's the earliest he can be released. There's no possible way that between now and all those years from now, he's going to go charge free in there. People aren't going to let it happen. You're going to deal with ignorant dudes. You're going to deal with situations you can't get yourself out of, situations you didn't put yourself in. There's some whacked out dudes in there. He's going to run his shit up. And when he does, he's going to end up doing all that time to the max, the whole 56. I've reached out to him, told him to hit me up, hold his head. You know, when we had a conversation, like I told y'all a while back, I asked him, I said, how you holding up, man? And he was like, I'm chilling, man. Real humble about it. Like, and I get it. I understand. I was the same way. I talk to people on the phone. They be like, man, you're real calm for somebody with all that time. Like, how are you just... Well, that's what it is. What would you like me to do? Start crying on the phone? Break down? Like, I done did all that mentally a million times. This is where I am. This is my life. This is what it is. There's nothing more, nothing less. This is what it is until it isn't no more. And he was like, I'm good, man. He was like, my biggest issue is that I left my kids behind. He's like, my kids will be, you know, beyond grown when I get out, man. Some of my kids will have grandkids. And it just got me to thinking, man. I wanted to do this story. There's a whole bunch of reasons to this story. One, to just let y'all know how these things happen sometimes. And number two, to let y'all know that, you know, life ain't always fair. We got a dude out here in Richmond that killed a cop last year that got 35 years. Shot a cop sitting in the projects. Point blank range. Boom! Cop left behind a wife, kids, was just walking up on the car to just see why they were parked there. He shot and killed the cop. He got 35. Michael Cutrell broke into a house and got 56. Now, the best advice I could try to give him when I spoke to him is I said, we never know why God does what he does. You know, you don't question God. He's like, bro, this ain't God's work right here. I said, you may feel like that, but you never know. I said, for all you know, you were supposed to have died the following week in a car crash. Or you were supposed to have gotten shot 2 years ago in the face. You don't know why you're there. But it'll all make sense one day. And he said, man, I guess, you know, maybe you're right. And I truly believe that. When we're going through our worst in life sometimes, we don't see the reason for it until later. Like when I was sitting in prison all the time, all those different jail beds from a juvenile all the way up until the day I was released at 34 years old. I didn't understand, you know, there can't be anything good in this. What's the purpose in this? Everything I had done up until that point brought me to where I'm at today. It made me who I am today. It gave me the ability and the memories to create Jay Williams' Let's Live Life. It gave me the drive and the strive to create JHW Construction. My misery, my pain, ultimately went on to be the same thing that fueled and fired a whole assload of guys' employments. It now supplies jobs for a whole bunch of guys. I never knew when I was incarcerated that's what it would do. That was my plan. That's what I wanted to happen. That's what I worked towards. And this is where I am today. What Michael Cutrell's ultimate outcome is going to be is I don't know. But I like to think that there's a reason. And if there's not a reason, that's just one of the things where you're just like, damn. 56 years for breaking into a house. He got 27 alone just for the act of having the butter knife in his house. And they take this one crime and break it into a whole bunch of other crimes and give it all different names when it's one thing. It's breaking and entering. You broke in and you stole some stuff. How does that turn into 6, 7 different charges? What type of judge in his right mind would hear that a man had a butter knife in his hand and convict him of, holding a dangerous object or any type of threat towards a person while breaking in a house? These judges, they don't use their minds. They'll give somebody that raped a child or molested a child 2 years, and then give somebody that did something like break into a house and use a butter knife to try to get out 56 years. You know why that is? Because them judges, them politicians, them prosecutors, them type of people, they're the ones that have the family members that are out there doing this crazy shit. Their family members are more susceptible to be arrested for child molestation, rape, check fraud, forging and uttering. All these things these people are getting slapped on the wrist for. That's what they're giving them these small sentences for. Their family members ain't going out here committing murders. Judges, kids and nephews and nieces and stuff, most time ain't out here doing these type of things. And you better believe that if they come in front of them in the court, they're not going to give them fucking 56 years. It's a crazy world we live in, man. This pisses me off. Like, no, I don't think it was cool that he was breaking in people's houses. But I think that had they gave him the help he needed from the gate, put him mandatory drug treatment, mandatory drug classes, mandatory urinalysis, and actually worked with the man rather than just throwing him in a cell, there's a good chance he wouldn't have got back out and went back to what he was doing. And that's not taking the blame off him. That's the facts. If you know a man's got a drug problem and that's what's leading him to commit crime, why would you just lock him up in a cell? What makes you think in your mind that's going to help with the problem? All that's going to do is put him around other criminals and make him a better criminal. You taking him and throwing him in prison isn't fixing the problem. You taking him and throwing him in prison is just throwing him in a place where there's more drugs and more problems. Then you let him back out into the world and everybody's like, oh God, I can't believe he got in trouble again. You never resolved the issue. All you did was try to punish. That's what America does. They punish, not rehabilitate. That shit is a joke. This shit is based on mass incarceration. Look at the numbers. He just falls into that category. 2,048. But I'm going to jump off, man. I had to give y'all that. For anybody watching, man, you teenagers, I don't care if you're 75 years old, anybody watching, think about what you do before you do it. Think about your actions and the consequences to your actions before you act. You get out here and do something that you think is okay, that if something happens, it'll be all right, and you end up flushing your whole life down the drain. If you get high, stop getting high. It always ends bad. If you like to steal, stop stealing. It always ends bad. If you like that crime shit, be prepared for that time shit, because it's there. Wake up, people. Use your brains. Each one teach one. Each one reach one. I say that for a reason. I try to teach the next person. And when I say each one reach one, that means you try to reach the next person. Pass the message before it's too late. These institutions, these prisons, all these places, these are just crazier worlds, man, inside of this crazy world we live in. And y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And as always, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. And to all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Y'all know how we do. Salute.